about what we just summarised. Hello and a warm welcome into the show. Very nice to have your company. Coming up, the New South Wales Supreme Court rejecting a bid by Win to block 9 Network from live streaming in its region. And the streaming service QuickFlix entering voluntary administration. It's pointing the finger at rival Stan. A co-host, James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. Wouldn't be a show without James in studio. He's going to guide you through those stories and plenty more. But before we go any further, positive numbers in the TV sector. 10 Network out with its first half results, just indeed before the broadcaster's ratings. Should see a lift thanks to the return of MasterChef Australia, although the sector itself, as we know, faces plenty of challenges beyond that. The news from 10, though, good, with TV revenue up almost 8%. That compares with the 1 3/4% fall in the capital city free-to-air TV ad market in that period. Well, 10's share of the revenue market up 2.5 percentage points to 23.4%. That's the highest level since H2 2012. James Manning's been speaking with 10 CEO Paul Anderson after those results were announced.
I guess the 6 months results today is a combination of ratings. Last year we increased them by 8%. We've had a terrific summer with Big Bash, and that's continued at the start of this year. So that's flowed through to revenue, which is particularly pleasing for the first 6 months to February.
Yeah, so it's really just that hard yards, building that audience back up, getting those ratings on the board. It's pretty much as simple as that.
Well, I think it's a long game. So it all starts with ratings and programming. We've worked really hard to develop what is a consistent schedule right across the year. We feel we've got some great programming now, domestically in particular. And over summer we've had a great result with Big Bash. So a combination of all of those things.
How much of a finance guy's skills have come into play? That's where you cut your teeth with the network, and you've moved into the top job.
Look, there's clearly a bit of finance skill there, but it's in this job I think it's more about common sense. We've got a great team here at 10 that have been here for a long time, and in particular a very good programmer in Beverly McGarvey.
People, there's only 3 commercial free-to-air licences in the space you play in. People always compare the 3 channels. Do you need to get back closer to maybe 7 and 9, or can you find a sweet spot, maybe near where you are, and earn a reasonable business outcome?
Yeah, I think we've said for a long time we're running our own race. We are very different than the other 2. Our average audience age is 10 years younger than the others. So we're very focused on making programming for our audience, and that is very different than the others. And I think 10's always been different. So we are very conscious that we've got to program to our identity.
Is there still a bit of upside for you? You've got to keep this momentum going, I guess.
Yeah, look, I think the pleasing thing for us is that we've had revenue growth now for 12 consecutive months. We're 7 months into this new alliance with MCN. And that's going really well. So what we've seen is our power ratio close, which that was one of the key factors in entering into this arrangement. So that's closed in February and March. We've been above 1, which is really really pleasing. And I think from the 1st of May we actually transitioned onto their landmark trading system, which opens up a whole range of opportunities for us around dynamic trading and programmatic trading that is extremely exciting, and we think that's really key.
Just expand a little bit more maybe on that MCM agreement. Are there synergies too with what else they have to sell? You mentioned the landmark system, so that's people, I guess, accessing all the Foxtel programming as well as what 10 has to offer.
Look, I think there's a range of things. So it's clearly scale. So we have around 43% of the 16 to 54 audience when you look at 10 and all the Foxtel channels. We have a lack of duplication in terms of the audience across all of those channels. You have broad integration opportunities right across, subscription television, free-to-air, and all the mobile and online. And then you've got their trading platform, Landmark, which is, world-class and is unparalleled in Australia. So we're really excited.
And the 10 audience, over the last decade, the demo focus has moved a little bit, but it hasn't lately. So just remind us again, who are you really after in terms of TV viewers?
Well, look, I guess it differs across the different channels, but primarily 25 to 54s. So that's the prism with which we, look through when we're making our programming decisions. At the same time, we know that our audience is younger than the other two. So I think when you look at the suite of shows that we've got right across the air, from I'm a Celebrity to MasterChef to Bachelor, and also this year Survivor at the end of the year, they're all very 10 shows.
I'm guessing MCN might be a real asset too when it comes to selling your multi-channels, I guess. That's where they really can shine a little bit.
Look, I think on the automated platform on Landmark, the trading of the multi-channels, it's really labour intensive both for us and for agencies and clients. So being able to trade for audiences and do that in an automated fashion is great for us. It's really efficient in terms of the way that we can sell our airtime, and is really beneficial in terms of the way that operates for advertisers and clients.
You've been a little bit outspoken today too about the need for the licence fees to be, get a bit of a rebate there. You think it's really unfair. So you call it sort of a profits tax, that a lot of other businesses don't have to pay.
Look, I think abolishing licence fees is critical to our sector, and. The commercial free-to-air spend $1.5 billion a year on local content. 6 out of every $10 in local content in Australia is spent by the commercial free-to-airs, and that translates into about 15,000 jobs directly and indirectly. So at the moment, we're fighting for advertising dollars with global companies that, take those advertising dollars offshore, straight offshore. A lot of them pay minimal or no tax, and in some cases have no employees in Australia, and have no regulations in terms of producing local content, drama, news and children's programming. So, we're paying 4.5% of every hard-earned dollar competing against these guys. So, all we're asking for is a level playing field.
They've been on, they've been off, they've been half on. What's your feeling that will happen?
Oh, look, we're just lobbying very hard for, I think no one disputes the argument that, we produce what is, a great free-to-air product around, in global terms, and it's completely free for all Australians. So all we're asking for is a level playing field.
How disappointing is it the media law reform seems to be on the back burner, at least temporarily, while they get the election out of the way?
Oh, look, it is disappointing. Once again, we believe that those laws are outdated, that in our industry, we should be free to be able to configure ourselves in the way that, we see fit and react to market dynamics. We can't do that. Those laws only operate with the 3 offline, so radio, printed newspapers and television. So once again, it's something that's outdated, but we would hope that once the election's over, that those media bill would be reintroduced, and eventually those laws will go.
What's your outlook for the rest of your financial year? How do you think the market's trending?
Oh, look, the market's difficult, there's no doubt about that. To say the market's short, I know everyone says that. It is short. We hope the election is going to provide a bit of a fillip in terms of, extra spend during this period. Clearly there's some advertisers that stay out of that. So look, the advertising market is very difficult to predict. I guess what we're trying to do is, we believe we're in the strongest part of our schedule from May onwards with MasterChef, and then heading into Bachelor. So, we're trying to grow our audience, and with MCN, convert more of those viewer numbers into advertising dollars.
And just finally, will your sort of digital viewing option 10 play, will that come into focus more now into the future as viewing habits are changing?
Absolutely, and I think that's part of what we have to do is continually changing and innovating as an industry. 10 plays video and viewer numbers are growing strongly. So we're on more platforms now than any of the other free-to-air networks, and we're streaming some of our content as well now. So the numbers are relatively small, but I think we just got to continue to broadcast as much of our content sort of anywhere, on any device, anytime.
There you have it, Paul Anderson, and with me now, James Manning himself. James, intriguing sort of the path to the top job, this one.
Paul Anderson used to be the Chief Financial Officer, not the normal way you go. The CEOs usually comes from either a programming background, Tim Warner at 7, or I guess David Gingell at 9, or sales, which was David Leckie, or Grant Blackley is Paul Anderson's predecessor, but Chief Financial Officer in the short term. So far, he's got them back into profit.
Well, so that seems inspired.
Been a good decision by the board.
The right man for the times to that extent.
Absolutely.
So beyond that, in terms of challenges that you might see realistically that he has to vault over, let's sort of look into that crystal ball. What's ahead?
Yeah, well, just convincing, advertisers that they stay, with the sector. Free TV's still got something to offer, and I think we've seen so far this year, look, you're still getting big audiences for the right programs, so the sector's ticked off on that, and B, that they go with 10, not one of their opposition. Well,
look to sort of another dispute rumbling at the moment, and do you see in that a lesson for the sector, and indeed say 10 takes some leaf
impact
out of this
on
book?
10.
Exactly. So here we have Win, the regional broadcaster, up against 9 now in terms of
and that streaming signal, that Win sort of challenging 9, saying, look, you shouldn't be allowed to stream into our regional areas because we have a contract with you guys to sell advertising. The Supreme Court seems to have ruled that, look, the agreement you have with 9 doesn't cover that.
Doesn't cover the digital.
Correct. Yeah, the digital delivery of that signal that only covers the broadcasting, the old meaning of what broadcasting was.
What's your sense as to how that's going to go, say, on appeal? Because in theory, that door is open, that avenue is available. Do you think that interpretation stands?
Look, I don't know. I don't think so. Look, this is relatively short term. These regional contracts are all up for negotiation at the moment, so presumably the new deals will cover delivery of the digital signal. It's hard to do because 9 really controls that digital signal. Will that mean they'll have to put in ads for Win into their digital signal in the new contracts? But I think those regional broadcasters will certainly want that. Those audiences are relatively small at the moment, though, so there's not big numbers there. So there's not a commercial imperative to get it straight away, I don't think. It's more looking down the lens into the future that the regional rights holders, those regional broadcasters, would be worried about.
And then I guess there's always the prospect of pending legislation, care of media law reform, to date, in the inbox, but so far not attended to by the Turnbull government, other than just early stages. There's still select committee processes to run.
There's still a fair bit to go, even once the election's out of the way and this comes back onto the agenda. I think there's still a bit of work to do there.
Because you wonder whether there's scope to maybe redefine broadcasting at that point to come in over the top of even this decision. To clarify it and maybe perhaps just come back down on the side of Win.
And we're presuming, there won't be a change of government or something too, when you could be back to base
never say never.
With everything.
A week's a long time in politics, don't they say? All of that. Well, let's take a break from all of that discussion, but coming up on the other side of it, Quick Flicks, we're going to tell you about this developing story. Having entered administration, now the blame game on its founder, pointing to the rival streaming service Stan. Find out what's really upsetting matters in just a moment. Stick with it.
The Syrian conflict has torn apart innocent people's lives. Little children like Shahad, whose house was bombed. She lost her brother, sister, and her home. This terrified little girl had nowhere to turn. Innocent, vulnerable people continue to have their lives destroyed. As they lose everything they know, UNHCR is doing all it can to protect them.
Something that we all take for granted and yet is our most basic human desire is to live a life of security and safety. This is really hard when you see people who've fled war and conflict with little more than the clothes on their backs, Giving just a small amount each week or each month would make a huge difference to being able to live a life of dignity, to being able to afford basic items that we take for granted in Australia.
Please call 1300 929 738 and give just $20 a month. We must give them a safer life today.
For a century and a half, we have been committed to Australia. Our commitment continues with an advanced manufacturing base centred in South Australia, creating thousands of jobs on a project vital for our national security. Next Generation Submarines, the most experienced partner ready to deliver on day one, strengthening an economy and investing in Australia's future. This is our commitment for Australia, built by Australians. Authorised by ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems Australia, Adelaide.
NAB Home Loans. Whenever you make the leap, we'll help you land.
Are you ready for me to blow your minds? Look at your website, now look at mine. Back at yours. Yeah! Let's be honest, your website is older than leftover noodles and it's starting to stink. You need Wix.com.
Wix, create your stunning website today.
Autumn might be getting colder, but the election campaign's heating up. So this week on Paul Murray Live, we head to Queensland and we'll be in Townsville. The town ruined by Queensland nickel.
Billions of dollars of infrastructure destroyed.
The place that Clive Palmer lost so many jobs.
We didn't make the workers redundant. The administrators did that.
But so much more. It's a city under massive pressure. So what is its political chances? We'll hear from the current MP, the challenger, but most importantly, you. We can't wait to be in your part of the world this week for Paul Murray Live.
Welcome back. The streaming service Quickflix, placed into voluntary administration. Its founder is coming out and pointing the finger at rival Stan, which currently holds $11.75 million worth of redeemable preference shares in Quickflix. It proves somewhat of a roadblock, therefore, for any fresh capital raising. Negotiations between the two streaming players have been unsuccessful. Ferrier Hodgson appointed the administrator as a result. James Manning with me to discuss this fallout. So really the first victim of the streaming wars, Quickflix. Do they have a point? Is there some kind of a redress that might even occur even now?
Yeah, look,
probable.
I don't think so. I think they've been teetering on the edge for quite a long time. I mean, Stephen Langsford, interesting, he's just come out and said, look, the March quarter, we've finally had a cash flow positive quarter. I think it's too late. Mm-hmm. They should have got some of this sort of business sort of tightening it up a lot earlier. I mean, the comparisons with Netflix are interesting. They both started as DVD rental businesses. They both still operate as part of that as well. But Netflix got into streaming. It identified that that key content that was the key to its success, and Quickflix just didn't really have a customer base big enough that you could transform the business from DVD rental into that content.
Is that half the problem, though, with this market? It's not.
It's small. It's not the US. Right?
Yeah. It's not the US. So you come
it's
here
a small business
with that mentality.
Yeah, it's a small market. There's more players here. You've got Netflix came in here. Startup costs here were negligible because they operate just out of the one head office still. They don't need employees on the ground here. Yeah. They can just move into new markets. Stan started up here. Foxtel's got Presto going. They're in partnership with Seven. These people have got bigger pockets. It's really hard for Quickflix to compete against.
And that amazing ability of Nine to parlay such an amazing buy off HBO, right? So HBO had poured all this money in and then exited Quickflix, and so the price tag on how Nine managed to come in and therefore effectively exert its blocking influence.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out what was the attraction for HBO and for Nine. What were they told by Quickflix that they could get out of this investment? Sure. I'm not sure what the expectations of either of those people were surrounding that investment.
In reality, penetration of all of this, we're sort of blindsided by what looked to be amazing revenue figures, but then coming off a very low base. And to our point earlier, do you see ultimately demand being capped there's a limit to who's going to be taking this one up, even if you look at the regions.
Yeah, you've got to look. I don't think Quick Flicks will be the only victim, if you like, out of all this. You know, there's 4 players if you include Netflix. If you include Quick Flicks, will all 4 of them survive long term? You would think not.
Well, yeah, we watch the space. Meanwhile, we move to Foxtel as well, because another key appointment here by Peter Tonner to the executive team, the marketing chief, Mark Buckman, in harness. Thoughts on this one? Just on...
Yeah, look, it's a good move. Peter Tonner hasn't been there long, a couple of months less, and he's moved in. Deanne Weir's come on board, former Oztar executive. Mark Buckman's come on, former Telstra, Commonbank, you know, so he's done some good work in marketing there. Foxtel are really, you know, concerned, look, we've got a good little business running at the moment. They want to future-proof it in a way, if you like, to guarantee that. So Buckman will work on the marketing of the business. He'll really be looking at that brand, just making sure that, because the brand probably needs a bit of a polish, just people are paying out big dollars, some of them, to subscribe to Foxtel. They want to be sure that they're, that the brand feels right, and these people will engage with it, and they'll become long-term customers.
Let's go over to 9, and talking of team building, Amanda Lang stamping you know, her presence when it comes to, again, back on Stan now.
Yeah.
Key personnel there grabbed.
Yeah, look, well, it's 9. They've taken someone from Stan. Alison Hubert-Burns has gone across from Stan to 9. Sophia Patterson, a program executive from the US, is coming on board. Again, 9 just want to try and future-proof their business too. Everybody is very conscious of the, you know, the people coming into their areas, the disruptors, if you like, and they want to make sure they're going to review their strategy, make sure everything they're doing is appealing to their customers, not just now, but they want to future-proof it for the years to come.
This next one looks like a marriage made in petrol head heaven, is it not? Because you've got John Borghetti, who loves, you know, a fast car or 6, and then you've got James Warburton with the whole V8 supercar franchise, you know, to get to the next level. So a deal between those two was always going to happen, right?
Yeah, look, well, I don't know, but I'm just surprised that supercars were without a naming sponsor for quite a while. Right. They've been without one, and it just seems a great opportunity for a big brand. And Virgin have really snapped this up, so it's going to be rebranded as Virgin Australian Supercars Championship. Wow. They lose that sort of V8 moniker, if you like. The V8s are still going to be there, but I think some people will sort of miss that, because it's a nice traditional rev head
convention.
Yeah, little moniker, little badge you can put on it. But you know, Virgin, yeah, as you say, look, it ticks all boxes, don't you? The V8 supercars move around Australia and around the world, so there's going to be lots of traffic for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of traffic for them there, and that branding is just great, because it's much watched on Fox Sports. It's a big property there. 10 and 1 for free-to-air customers. You know, a lot of people still watch it there. And
it's sort of roll the dice territory, in fairness, for John Borghetti when it comes to, he's had movement on the register there, the Air New Zealand play on whether it stays or goes, and in the process, how do you shore up some degree of onward support? Well, this is obviously a key plank in that strategy now into the future. Let's also talk to Tasmania now. Tasmanian Media Awards. I was just down there over the weekend. So how is the sector looking there? Who's really shining and standing out from these awards?
Yeah, look, each state has its own media awards. The Walkley Awards are the national sort of journalism, if you awards it. Then each state has their own awards. Tasmania had theirs on the weekend. A couple of the big winners there, Brent Costello, who works Win TV down there, and Michael Aitken, who works, I think, ABC reporter down there. You might see him on the local edition of the 7:30 report. Michael actually won a couple of awards, and Brent won for, again, I think it might have been the 3rd time he's won Best Sports Journalist Award down there. So, yeah.
And who's behind it? Who's the actual body that's... It's not Walkley, I
think it's the Tasmanian Media Journalism Award. Journalism down there that put this on every year.
It's acknowledging hard work and all of that and endeavour. Let's talk Cosmopolitan. New editor there. How much of a revolving door has that been?
Well, Bronwyn McCann was there for quite a while. She's been there for quite a few years. Look, a massive challenge for most people in the magazine businesses these days, as there have been in newspaper. Anything in that print sector has really been disrupted. One of our favourite words now on, on Media Week.
And again, you fall back on the problem we talked about earlier, which is simply market and a capping of that. So how can you even lower the price on a product? It's not like you're in Russia and you're printing that same magazine with a Russian flavour to it for about $1 at the newsstand. I mean, that's compelling. Hard to sort of sell something in double digits, though.
Yeah, well, Claire Askew's got the task now there of keeping this brand alive here. It's Hearst. Hearst are the sort of parent licence holder there, and Bauer Media licensed that brand off them for Australia. They've done a pretty good job of Cosmo in the US of keeping that brand alive and a bit more engaging with the audience. I think they'll look to the success they've had there, maybe in some other territories. But you've got to think back, you know, what did the Cosmo used to crop up in the media? That they had this, I think they have the centrefold, or was that was Cleo, wasn't it? But that was but whatever, just get back on the radar, if you like, in the media. Just do things that will make news, that will appeal to your potential readers, because you know they need to really boost that. The magazine circulation is really low these days. They couldn't be making money, I don't think. If they're breaking even, they're probably doing a good job. But digitally, you know, that name is worth something. They need to find out a way of building an audience and monetising. Well,
speaking of building audiences, let's look at some ratings for the week just gone. Now, let's start off there with week 17, free to air. We're right towards the tail end, right?
Yeah, look, this is the second last time this program will appear on this program this year.
Promise?
But this is the first time this year they've had 5 episodes in the 1 week. So that's
sweet.
It's filled the top 5.
Well, that's probably inevitable, right, though, as you get right down to that denouement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they really want to milk it while they can, before they don't have it. Then the news programs fill the rest of the top 10 this week.
And just tinkering with orders as they want to do, maybe.
Sure.
Well, then, here we are, STV.
Yeah. Again, look, it's all owned by NRL and AFL. 3 NRL games, 2 AFL this week in those top 5 sport. Before we move into the non-sport programming, again, Gogglebox doing very well up there. Again, it's that specialist content that Foxtel creates for itself are the top 3 programs. So people really like that stuff.
Well, and the housing theme, which we do on Sky News Business, of course, that Saturday show, clearly there's that appetite, as you can see. Really brief thought as well, Game of Thrones becoming the most watched subscription TV show ever. Down Under, Sky News and Foxtel launching a new channel as well this weekend, the election channel. So there are 2 really interesting landmark moments there just to acknowledge. Speaking of the Game of Thrones, first off.
Yeah, look, over 700,000 people just watched, I think, in that first 24 hours. By the time we total up all the views, unique views across that first week of that first episode, it could reach 1 million.
And extraordinary, given it's the most pirated show in the country as well.
Yeah, in Australia, the most prolific pirates in the world, we're led to believe.
And you know the campaign's on proper for the election when there's a dedicated election channel.
Yeah, look, and you'll be able to catch it at 2 places, Channel 606 or Channel 648. APAC moves onto the red button on your remote.
Nicely put. There we have it. That is our logo, our election channel. That is your Media Week, though, for this week. Thank you, James. See you in 7 days. We look forward to your company then, too.